So one thing that caught my attention in that piece is sort of joking about has Miska gone up north? That's the
Yeah.
joke that you have there,
Hmm.
right? And was that a joke that you and your school friends would have made with each other about going up, being sent up to a gulag? Is that the kind of thing that would have
Well,
been funny at the time?
in in high school, it was not political, and it was not really invested with any kind of serious political meaning. But it was the most popular brand of Soviet chocolate bar, Mishka na Severi, Mishka up north, with a polar bear on it. And up north, in regular Soviet parlance, meant, just somebody sent up to jail and so forth. So it was not anything specific. It was just, just something funny to say. Are you already up north? Which is,
Mm.
combined with my name, made like for a nice joke. But of course, none of us, of course, even remotely thought back in high school that we would ever wind up north or being harassed, being in trouble. We were not tremendously political. We were more cynical than political, and that at the age of 15 or 16, we kind of knew that the country we lived in was highly imperfect, and that it was that this Soviet ideology, that is to say, communism, was a joke, and that it was just something that was never going to happen, and that we were living in a highly artificial country. But that was the only country that we knew, and the rest of the world didn't much existed for us because nobody we knew ever traveled there, and so we had no reason to think that we would not spend the rest of our lives in that country. So it was kind of okay. It was one of the, it was a joke that someone in Canada or in the U.S. could make in high school. Just something relating to one's doing something and being sent to jail, for
Mhm.
instance.
Do you think though that you might not necessarily have understood the full implications of what it meant at the time, or was it very?
No, we kind of understood that by that time it was a matter of belonging to a certain social class. Our high school, our grade was made up mainly of the children of intelligentsia, engineers, and artists and so forth. Unlike parallel class, which was made up of children mainly of working class, um, and so we were highly ironic and irreverent bunch. We kind of already knew that horrible things happened during the Stalin years, uh, thanks to the so-called 60s thaw, which was how Nikita Khrushchev, succeeding Stalin, decided to basically to position himself politically to strengthen his power. He needed to dethrone Stalin, and that was the process of de-Stalinization, which suddenly, to their horror, many millions of Soviet people suddenly found out indirectly, because it was supposedly a secret report to the party congress by Khrushchev in 1956. But suddenly it was revealed that certain people were sent to the Gulag, which is just a system of concentration camps, prison camps, and or to prison, or were executed without much of a trial in very large numbers, and millions of people actually, or hundreds of thousands, however many we didn't know. So that was done unfairly. And so Khrushchev, there was a process of rehabilitation of somebody's having his good name restored and returned and so forth. It was all a part of a political process, and but we didn't internalize it.
So before that, there was no public knowledge of that many people being sent to the
No,
gulags?
before that, people knew, of course, that there was massive purges going on, but nobody thought or knew that that was not fair. People did believe that those were the enemies of the people, British spies, Japanese spies, and so forth. To think otherwise, or to especially to voice something publicly, or just to voice any kind of doubt or any kind of hesitation, would doom you. Basically, you would be yourself immediately um, purged. You would disappear. So, but then we belong to a very different generation than our parents. So we were already born without that pervading fear in our bones that our parents and especially our grandparents had, which is not surprising. They live in an atmosphere of constant fear of being disappeared or just being killed or just. But we didn't have that fear. So for us, it was a matter of just a reverent but shallow joke. We knew that bad thing happened, but we didn't connect it with our lives at all, and it certainly did not cross our minds to protest against, the Communist Party or the totalitarian regime. That was just a given. We were born in that country, and you have to be born somewhere, and so that's where you were born, and so you have to, you know, live in that country and abide by its rules. But we didn't have to be reverent anymore. We didn't have to be to watch every single word we'd said. However, if we had said something like this in the presence of a certain teacher or a school director or a school principal, we most certainly would have been in trouble because we knew very well the dividing line between private talk and public talk. So there was a life on the surface where nobody ever said anything against, obviously, the Communist Party, or just always towed the line and so forth for one's own sake. And we were very good at that also. We were all members in high school, members of the Young Komsomol, which is a young communist league, which is like preparation for the Communist Party. The Communist Party itself, of course, was highly selective, even though it counted 19 million people among its members, but very few people would actually, that we knew. Certainly not any one of my friends or my parents' friends were not members of the party, except for my grandfather and my grandmother. But my parents were not, and I wouldn't ever dream of it. Not to mention the fact that after a certain point, they stopped inviting or accepting into the party people of Jewish origins.